Hello, Facebook, and for later Instagram. Jess Claire here, about to add Farmer Dave, aka Dave Graham. I'll just add him now. All right, here we go. Is he on? He's on. Hello, Donna. Hello, Nikita. Hello, Gary. Welcome. I'm just waiting for Dave to join us. Should come any moment now. Here he is. There
Have we
we
worked
go.
this time?
We did. Well done.
Crikey
I
Moses,
know.
talk about unprepared. Oh.
You're looking great. You're looking great.
And the hilarious thing is you went through a whole list of, you have to have all this stuff ready.
No.
I have my coffee, yeah.
Yes, we did. I keep forgetting the whole headphones thing. Hello, Donna. I do. I keep forgetting the whole headphones thing. I did that
Shocking.
to, I did that to Elizabeth too. Well, thank you so much for being here. What people don't know is that, 5:30 a.m. over where you are?
5:30 a.m. after first day of World Championships and 49 hours of me traveling to get here. So this didn't just, I didn't look like this just by chance. This is hard work to look this bad.
You look beautiful, Dave.
Yeah, no, I think the technical term is rooted. I'm absolutely rooted. But, America is so shocking. I had to bring my own coffee over. And even, granulated coffee, but still it's better than the crap that they serve you up. And it's like every place that serves coffee has actually got a mechanics out the back. And they just drain the oil from anyone's car. And, anyway.
So, is that Moccona? Have you got Moccona?
Of course, yeah. It's the only thing I can drink in this country. Yeah, top shelf, yeah. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for getting up so early and agreeing to have this interview with me. That is, thank you. And thank you for being a panelist on the upcoming event on the 7th of November.
I'm excited. It's a cool concept, and good on you for driving this whole thing and making it happen. I mean, things only happen because someone makes it happen, and you making it happen. You're making it happen, and so good on you.
Thanks, Dave. And I'm actually quite thrilled of how it's worked out because you were the first guy I called. Do you remember?
Yeah, we ran into each other in the pub.
You did. It was like Pride Fair Day or something, and I saw you. Something was on, and I just saw you in passing.
The Ekka.
Oh, it was the Ekka. It was Wednesday at the Ekka, and I'm like, you've got to be on this panel.
Yeah.
You're so inspiring. And it was like, I can't talk to you now because I've had way too much to drink, but I'm going to call you next week.
Yeah.
It was great. It was great. And so thank you for being here. So I want to start by introducing you. So everyone knows you as this big, former Big Brother contestant.
Ooh.
In fact, I saw you won a competition for being the best Big Brother contestant the other day in the paper. You took out number one.
Number one on someone's idea of.
Yeah.
But no, it was very cool
right.
because it was about I think what they were trying to say was of the top 40 housemates that changed Australia for the better, or embodied what that show was about, which was getting inside people's psyche, getting inside people's water cooler moments, getting inside the whole reason why we had a show that put a mirror up to society. And it wasn't, I think a lot of people look at that show and go, oh, it's just young people trying to be celebrities. No, it wasn't. It was never that. It was about Australians saying, hey, I'm okay with being completely raw, open and honest, and are you okay with the Australia that we hold our mirror up to? And that was what the coolest thing about Big Brother was, that if you didn't like the Australia that was reflected back in the mirror, well, then you should have done something about changing it. And so there's, you know, anyone that ever says to me, oh, what a shit show that was, it's like, oh, you didn't like the Australia that we were at that time. Oh, well, what did you do to change it? What did you do to make Australia a better place? What if people swore too much? What did you do to increase the swear jars around the workplaces? If you thought that people were too self-centered, what did you do to increase people's self-awareness to do more for society? And if they all say no, it's just like, well, then don't tell me that you hated the show, because all that show was a mirror. And if you don't like what you see in the mirror, you know, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's a great way to look at it. And I mean, I deliberately chose you as someone that I wanted on this panel, because I'm going out, I'm doing this like it's probably not as radical as I think. But
it's pretty radical, dude.
Yeah, well, I'm doing this thing where I'm like, how about we talk about exploring what it is to be an authentic leader and lead your life authentically in the workplace of all places, in the corporate and professional world. Yeah. And I need people that have really done that, have put themselves at risk, have gone, you know, everyone's watching me, but I'm willing to show up and be fully who I am. And that's why when I saw you, I'm like, you've done that. And not only did you do it, you did it at a time when there wasn't really much space for it, or maybe a little bit, but not like it is now. So,
it was the world back then is a foreign country, and even though it was 2006, it just seems, you know, for those of us that are over 40, it's not that long ago. But if you're a lot younger than that, obviously it's a lifetime ago. But in all seriousness, the past is a foreign country. I don't recognise the Australia of back then, and whenever I have an opportunity to talk about what it was like.
Are you there?
Sorry about that. How are we going to deal with all these people that are going to be calling?
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah.
Oh, damn it. I should
have done. People, don't call me. It's 5:30 in the morning.
Okay. I should have told you need to put it on Do Not Disturb. That's another part of the list.
What is Do Not Disturb? I need to know this.
Yeah, that's right, you do. You got to like swipe up on your phone, and then you got to press the little...
okay, talk amongst yourselves, kids. David's got to be an adult.
The moon side. The moon sign is Do Not Disturb.
All right, talk amongst yourself, kids. Where's this?
Yes, I'll say hello to everyone. Make sure if you're on here that you tell me that you're on here, and you hashtag Team Human, hashtag authenticity, authentic leadership.
There we go.
Farmer
I'm
Dave.
back in the room.
Hello. Say hello. Thank you. Okay, good. You're back. All right.
Yeah.
There you go. You're getting some people. Hey, when's this panel?
Hey.
7th of November.
What is this event? 7th of November. It's in Brisbane. Of course, the greatest state that ever was. Yeah.
That's right. I had discussions today about where the next one's going to be in Sydney. We're just going to announce the date, which is really cool. And the guy that owns Stonewall is very interested, so he's looking forward to it. Yeah, so that's great. Anyway, back to you. We were talking about, and you know, this is about being the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was not an accident that I called you. I wanted to know, you know, you were someone that on live TV, you know, what did it take to make a choice to go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to actually fully show up. You know, that's something you can hide, right? And you chose not to.
Of course. Yeah.
You
so
thought,
that was
this is who I am. Yeah.
That was a period of time where, in where I come from, so about 3 hours west of Toowoomba, is where my station is, about an hour north of Gundawindi. So, you know, all up about 100,000 acres of country spread across 400 kilometres. So I worked like a dog. Like it was pretty much so you get up in the morning, you're at work at 6:30, you don't get back into bed until 9 o'clock at night, and I was the only son working on the station, and it was just about proving everything to my dad. Oh, I'm amazing. I'm going to be the son that you wished you'd always had. All this sort of stuff. So anyway, you work like a dog. That's just what you do culturally, and it's not about you're going down to the shop to a latte. You work on the station. That's it. The people that you see are your co-workers on the station, the other jackaroos, the station hands. It just worked non-stop. There's one station you get on the wireless. There was ABC, so you get talkback. Sometimes you might get, a right-wing radio from Sydney that will turn up on the dials, sometimes in the morning, sometimes at night. I was exposed to a lot of bizarre stuff at the time. We're talking about a period of time when the Anglican Church, now I'm of the Anglican faith at the time, was convulsing in the fact that they were ordaining gay bishops in the Episcopalian, which is the chapter of this faith in North America. And, the Australian part of the diocese was saying, oh, we would never do that. And it was just like, what the hell? And then also at the same time, we had politicians that were up in arms because there was a movie being made called Breakback Mountain, which was a love story, but it just happened to be a love story between two men. So, we had this entire conversation continuously about gays, but it was negative. It was gays are wrong, gays don't exist. How is it that they're getting into our religion? How is it that they're getting into our folklore and our stories of culture that are sacred? And it was very much so they thought anyone who was ringing in to Talkback Radio, and even a lot of the commentators were very much so, how is it that these gays, these easel gays, are finally getting into the last bastion of who we are as people, our country, our culture, and our Christianity? And it was killing me to listen to this as a young bloke that had only really just started to deal with, I was 26, started to deal with my sexuality after a very long period of self-loathing and self-hatred. So I turned off the tractor at about 8:30 at night, and I jumped in my ute and I drove the 5 hours to Brisbane, met up with some mates, went to the Wickham Hotel because I just needed to be around my people. So people often talk about community and about, part of the LGBTIQ community. For me, that was probably the first time in my life that I understood what that meant, because for me, my community was where I come from, out in the bush. That's my community. I never felt part of anything else. There was one community that I was part of, and that was, the bush dance mob that was done in the local hall that was 50 k's away. So I went there and then had a really good time with my friends and just was able to be who the hell I was. Then when we left the pub, there were some guys there that were throwing glass bottles at people. Just there's a few car yards there with a lot of those big camphor laurel trees outside of the Wickham, and they were throwing bottles at people. And I was like, whoa, this is the point where I continue to say, no, I don't take this anymore. I'm not going to allow people to say these things or do these incredibly hurtful things. Like, give pain to another person through a glass bottle being thrown at your head. That's weird. So anyway, so I spoke to these. There were 6 of them in all, and I spoke to them, and I was just having a yarn, and I was saying, hey, dudes, what are you doing? They're just guys trying to get home to their car. Anyway, long story short, they all were like, oh yeah, cool. That makes total sense. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, bud. And I said, look, did you feel like somehow I was trying to hurt you? And they're like, nah, mate. And I'm like, well, I'm gay. And boom, to the back of my head, there was a punch. Anyway, they bashed the complete shit out of me, and actually thought they'd killed me, which is why they took off. But that wasn't the big problem. The big problem was an ambulance took quite some time to get there. There was a lot of friends had turned up to try and resuscitate me and do some stuff with me before the ambulance turned up. Now, this is in the valley. The police never turned up. Several people tried to flag down police cars that were going past. That was unable to happen. So this is where the problem really started. And then when I was at hospital, I ended up leaving hospital, and because my face was completely smashed in, I still have damage and stuff that was done to my face that's still to this day, all these years later. When I went to the police station, everything was made as difficult as it could possibly be. Now, I got a liaison officer. Now, when I'm talking about liaison officer, I'm talking about someone who could speak Cantonese and Mandarin. So thanks. You know, I'm from Western Queensland, and you give me someone that is the most opposite of who I am, as in need of a liaison officer. So that was difficult. I kept trying to say, you know, can I just write down my own report because you're not understanding, you're not taking in. And anyway, look, I can say ni hao. That's about as much as I could have done for that poor bloke. But anyway, it was just made as difficult as possible. And then I just said, look, I'm not taking this anymore. So I wanted to speak to the boss. Then I wanted to speak to the area commander. Wow. Finally, I got some answers out of a bloke, and he said to me, and all the brass, because I was making a big drama about this, he said to me, this is the first hate crime we've heard of, Dave. I'm so sorry this has happened to you. And I'm like, this wasn't something that just came out of the blue. These blokes were there, and they were in the comfort zone of, we do this fairly often. So that's where it all, for me, really the rage inside that was no longer, this is me, you know, come out to the whole family at Christmas, I'm gay, damn it. It turned from that to, this is not right. We have a systemic issue in Australia where our police, our whole culture is gay people are afraid to do anything. And mums and dads are afraid to have gay children, and the only empowered ones are those that want to put their boot on our necks. So I thought, this is just a joke. Now, I had been in the Big Brother process all by chance. It was nothing to do with anything.
Already.
Yeah. So it was.
You were already through that, right?
Yeah. And just as a laugh, just one day at the jolly Brisbane University, I was just being babysat, literally. I missed a flight and I was stuck there, and my friends were like, oh, go into these auditions just while I was hanging around the university. So anyway, that is the point that I was like, I could use this television show that I just happened to be at the auditions by chance, because I missed a flight and I was stuck in Brisbane and I couldn't get all the way back to my farm, you know, all that sort of stuff. I said, this is the universe saying, hey, mate, this is your opportunity to get into the living rooms of these 6 boys, but also the living rooms of these 6 boys' mums, the living rooms of these 6 boys' girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever, but into their ability to have a conversation like what we're doing right now. And so that's where it all came from. And, you know, the Big Brother people didn't know I was gay when I'd gone through all the stuff and the auditions and stuff. So it was just, you know, I was, at the time, life is not always friendly, people, especially when you age. But at the time, I was very pretty. And so they were like, yeah, you know, we'll get you because of that. So then I had a conversation with them. I said, look, this is what's happened. But can we somehow make a change in the world with Big Brother? I'll go on it. I'll reveal that I'm gay after 3 weeks, and then go back home to my life. Because I really did think, like, my honest opinion was that Australia would go, oh my God, fucking homo, let's get him out. And then I just go back to my life. They were like, yeah, this is cool. This is amazing. You have no idea that this is going to be a big thing. And I'm like, well, I really think that it's going to get into people's lounge rooms a way that I think, and this is where the whole topic of this conversation comes from.
Yeah.
That going down a street with a placard and saying, you have to change, hadn't done. I mean, how long have people been protesting for whatever thing? But it doesn't make a change. People don't listen to someone, especially in the culture of Australia, forcing them to do anything. If in Australia our culture says that we're forced to do something, instantly we put our backs up. That's our cultural anomaly. And if anyone ever says Australia doesn't have a culture, well, then you try and force someone in this country to do something. We just don't like it. And so that's where it all came about, was the whole Big Brother thing was just me being on a tractor, having a gut full of being told that I don't exist from my politicians, my religious leaders saying that I am absolutely wrong and sinful and should not exist within my church. And the other thing is that I had humans physically want me dead because of who the hell I am, that would never impact on them, that would never have an iota of difference to their lives, but they needed me dead. So they're the reasons that I decided that I wanted to go in a reality TV show and make a difference. And it didn't stop with that. I mean, obviously I went on and did Dancing with the Stars, which was even a more way of just completely making yourself raw and open. But it all came from the same place, and that is, if you want to make a change, don't say, is there a doctor in the house? Is there a doctor on the plane? Be the damn doctor. And fake your credentials if you don't have any credentials. And I know that sounds a little bit ridiculous, but I'm sure you can get me in the metaphor, and that is, do it yourself.
Fake
Be
it till
the
you
person.
make it.
Yeah. I mean, the way that I always try and tell people that you should be making a change. I mean, a lot of people, because I've been in the charity space forever, and there's a very few animal charities that I haven't been involved with or raised money for in Australia. I get a lot of people, especially celebrities, with their kids. Oh, how can I get my kid to make a change? I'm like, tell them to pick up some rubbish. What? I'm like, get them to pick up rubbish. Okay, thanks, Dave. But how can they make it? What they're actually saying is, how can I make my kid, feel valued? Pick up rubbish, because that's how every single person can totally change the planet that we live in, totally change everything by picking up rubbish and putting it in an appropriate bin. And when you think about that, just that little bit, that totally changes the world. That is the one thing that you can do and you have total power over. And we have this idea in our head is, that's not my rubbish. I didn't throw it there. I don't even eat McDonald's. It's not my wrapper. I don't use straws. I didn't have that Coke. I have Coke Zero. Look at me, amazing. The idea simply is you take responsibility, not because of anything, but because you are a citizen of this planet. And if you don't like something, like if you're looking at that rubbish and you're thinking, well, I don't like it there, someone's to blame. You're to blame. You do it. You pick that rubbish up. And that's what it always, whenever you say, someone needs to do something. Okay, well, that one's pointing at that person. This one's pointing at you. This one's pointing at you. This one's pointing at you. You be the change. You be the person that picks up that rubbish. You be the person to engage in conversation. And when it comes to LGBTI issues, plain and simple, if there's someone that, oh, crikey. If there's someone that something about Donald Trump just came up on my phone. Oh. And if you don't like Donald Trump, well, then you be the person to actually not bitch and moan and go, oh my God, Donald Trump. You be the person that actually stands for Parliament or Congress or whatever and be the change that he did, because he didn't like the system, whether you like the system or not. He didn't like the system and he said, I'm going to change it. And isn't that the most perfect example of someone everyone says, you're not going to do it, you're not going to make a change, this is a joke, but he believed in himself because he believed in the changes that he wanted to bring about. Yeah. So whether it's rubbish or hijacking the American complete democracy, it's got to be up to you. Like, every individual has to say to themselves, what can I do to make a difference? And when I say a difference, it's real difference, not just, oh my God, Donald Trump's a loser. Because what difference is that going to make? Oh my God, someone left their rubbish over there. What difference is that going to make? Pick the damn shit up, go and get elected to Congress. That's what it's,
Yeah. No, it's, Dave, I literally couldn't have said it better myself. I reckon anyone that's watching this right now is like, oh my God, I love this guy. So it's awesome.
Eye bags and all.
Eye bags and all. I like, you're in your Australia jumper. It's awesome. I do love that. But no, just on what you were saying, what is really distinct though is that you're out in the country, you're trying to impress your dad, you're away from people. There's high suicide rates amongst farmers. You've got...
Well, it's a guaranteed thing back then. Gay people in the country, that was the expectation of our community.
That was
kill
that
ourselves.
was mostly
100%.
what would happen.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So you've gone through that. You then go, okay, that's not okay. I'm going to go be with my mates. You then get beaten up. Now, most people, Dave, would actually give up. Like, that's basically society saying rejection, 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 at least 10 times. And you were even in the cop shop after you've been rejected. Not only have you been submitted to violence and, you know, things that are against the law, even then the police didn't know what to do with it. Another rejection in the midst of it. But what was the moment that you said to yourself, despite that, and maybe you did it multiple times, you have a choice. You can get smaller and hide. Everyone has that choice. But you chose, no, I'm going to go on TV and risk even getting rejected even more. Like what happened? Like what happened that you went, I'm going to be that? Because that's what people.
Yeah.
That's what people want access to.
Yeah, it is that. For me, it was the injustice. So when I see injustice in the world, and that doesn't matter what it is. I mean, it may be like where I come from, where, you know, violence against women was part and parcel, average part of everyone's day. But do you do something about it? And that trigger that says I'm watching or I'm an active participant in changing. I suppose that trigger that really got me was that I allowed myself to be killed on several occasions. So I've been a victim of a lot of severe violence over the years. And when you say, okay, I can die from this, I'm okay. But when you don't die, you're like, oh shit, I could actually do something about this. Does that make sense? So that's what it was for me. Yeah, that's what it was for me on several occasions when you just say, you know, oh shit, I'm gonna die. And a lot of people might be in car accidents. I mean, you know, God forbid, it's not so common nowadays. But that there's a point in you that often we go through in our lives where we just go, I thought I was going to die. But then you don't. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like when people do public speaking. It is the greatest human fear, actually. Believe it, a lot of people would actually take a pill of cyanide than have to speak in front of an audience. So it is a huge fear because it's a fear that initiates an adrenaline response that we can't do anything about because there is no saber-toothed tiger to actually track us down. But we have this incredible fear that is engaged within our system to do a fight-flight response, and yet there is nowhere to fight and there's no one to flight from. So that's why public speaking is so difficult because, you know, it's something that we've just invented in the last few hundred years, and yet our whole evolutionary system's been around for 2 million years. So, you know, it's hard for us to reconcile. But anyway, there is that point that you don't die. And that's the point you go, oh, well, now I need a different outcome. Do you get what I mean? Because your whole system says I'm going to die. But then you don't. So that's the point. And we go through it many times a day, crossing the street, because we're you know, I'm just speaking to young people. You're looking at your phone. And then someone says, oi, girl. And you look up, oh my God, oh fuck, I thought I was going to die. So that's the point that you go, well, I didn't die. So what could have I done differently, or what could I do differently? Well, then don't look at your damn phone when you're crossing the street, you clown. That's the point. That's the point that hits your brain. The same as when you see rubbish float away and then no one else picks it up. That's the point that you go, well, I've got to make the change. I've got to pick up that plastic bag because I know what is going to happen to that plastic bag. That plastic bag is going to go inside the nostril of a rare leatherback sea turtle. I know where it's going to go. I know the outcome, but I can actually stop that outcome from happening. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the point. That's the point that you actually choose to be the ability to come into the world and be that sliding door moment and say to Gwyneth, you know what? Babes, miss the train, go home and catch your boyfriend cheating on you. And that's where you suddenly have your part in the entire wheel of the world. And instead of it just driving this endless grindstone, you're actually smashing the grindstone and you're changing the world, and there is a whole new outcome that you are in charge of. Picking up that one piece of rubbish means that one turtle then gets to go on and breed, and that one turtle had 200 babies that actually survived, and that completely changed the outcome for that species. But you did that because you picked up a rubbish, or you didn't hit that car, and therefore that person didn't end up going to the shop. That person didn't end up meeting that beautiful, hunky, handsome guy that worked at the mechanics, and then didn't get into an abusive relationship, which therefore didn't mean that, you know, do you get what I'm saying? Like, you can totally change the world.
You are so connected. This is what I can hear. You are so connected to every little action you take matters.
Yeah, every action.
I think that's what I can hear. Like it's not just putting rubbish in the bin for you.
Yeah.
It's a whole species and ecosystem and how that impacts the environment.
Extrapolate every outcome that could happen.
You're absolutely connected to your actions make a difference.
Yeah.
And I think it's perfect because someone once said this to me too, which was, you know, I had a sort of a similar moment where I went from not really caring in life, and then something happened and I went, everything matters.
Yeah.
And someone
You're
said
in
to
the
me,
driver's seat.
Yeah. Someone said to me, there's actually only two ways to live. You live as if nothing matters, or you live as if everything matters.
Yeah.
So every little action you take matters. And that's kind of what, when I think about purpose, and when I talk about, you know, purpose-led leadership, and when I talk about authentic leadership, it's really looking at, you know, there's usually some burning desire that everyone has. And for you, it seems really obvious. You had this desire that this is not okay.
Yeah.
It is so not okay that people get hit. It is so not okay that people do not acknowledge existence of what's actually happening in the world. Except you saw that, and it almost like it took you or pulled you into action. So that purpose of that matters and I'm going to be the guy pulled you into, I'm going to go on Big Brother and I'm going to come out and I know who knows what's going to happen, but you know, I'm clear something's going to happen.
Yeah. It's breaking the cogs, totally breaking the cogs. And the thing is that you don't know what's going to happen. There is the one thing that you're sure of is where the trajectory of the world is right now, and be that whatever it is. And because I knew that gay people would constantly continue to be bashed, religion would continue to reject homosexuality for whatever the bizarre reason is. Mums and dads would continue to accept that their children, this is in the bush, this is, you know, my reality back then. Mums and dads would continue to accept that single vehicle accidents are, you know, an unfortunate part. My poor child is dead. That reality would continue. But I was like, no, I'm gonna break that reality. And that's what we have to do as humans is, why do we need to accept what is going to continue to happen? Because we know because that's how it's happening right now. We know where it's going. But why not just shake it up a little bit and disrupt the process and say, well, can we try something else? And you may continue on the same trajectory, but what have you lost? What has actually been taken away from you for making a change?
Yeah. Beautiful. No, it really is. And I was just thinking about, like, everything that you're saying is going to resonate with loads of people.
Yeah,
and
I hope so.
I think that's what I'm thinking about when we talk about what it is to lead your life personally, or that personal leadership, which was also a part of what you wanted to talk about. Effective personal leadership. Yeah. You know, you went on and did something, like you went on and said, this is who I am. But what impact did you think, or what impact did you want that to have on others? Because it wasn't just about changing that. Like, it wasn't just about, you know, it's not just about changing the violence. Yeah. Well, what other impacts did you want that to have?
Yeah, I suppose it was changing the entire psyche. All I wanted people to do was question themselves. I just wanted them to question the concepts of, because, you know, a lot of people, when they found out I was gay, they were way nicer to me. And I thought, why are you nicer to me? Why are you like, oh my God, you're my new best friend? I'm like, why is that a thing? You know, it's not like I suddenly showed you a tattoo or something of choice that I'd done, you just found out something about me that wasn't evident as in the color of my skin. So and that's something that I couldn't change. I have no control over. Like, I mean, you know, my sex, my race, my certain things would just have no ability to alter. So, I suppose it was very much so just allowing people to make the choice when they have knowledge of something more about you. How does that actually affect their way of interacting with you? Do I want you dead? Do I want you to be my hero? Do I want you to be my partner? Now that I know something more, or do I just look at you as the human being that you walked into my life as? And that's really what all I ever wanted, was just to be treated like a fucking human being. That's all I wanted. Like, I just wanted to be accepted for who I was. And why is it that this little thing, my sexuality, that is something that is so indelibly personal to me. That is what I share with one other person at a particular time in life. But yeah, if you get what I mean, like, it's something that will never impact on my mother. I am never going to have sex with my mother. So why is it that she feels that she is so impacted? I mean, it's my sex life. It's something that occurs. It's a behaviour. So so it's very much so a case of, why is this so big to you? Why is it that you feel that you have such a say in this that has no impact on you? This is my thing that doesn't impact on you. So, you know, it's not like a tattoo, because that's a choice. This is a thing that has no bearing on you whatsoever. It is a case of, I'm getting grey hairs. So, yeah, I can cover it up and hide and make you happy. Or I can be like, well, I've got grey hairs, you know, it's just going to add to the whole concophony of weird colours that I have in my hair. So that's really what it is. It's just accepting that when you want to change something, it's taking away from others the impact on them, rather than imposing an impact on them. Do you get what I mean? Like, that's the personal thing that I want people to accept, is that if you have something that is important to you, what you're saying to people is, I'm taking the impact away. I'm not imposing it on. And how people often think of making change is with their fists, with their mouth, and with their ability to impose or impact on someone else. Whereas what I try and say to people is, do it the opposite way. Take away the impact, take away the pain from others, take away the hurt that they're going to feel, and allow others to know that the change that you want in the world is actually going to allow them to move through their days easier, better, and less stressful. And I think the way that I went around trying to change Australia to accept homosexuality and accept equal rights, because that was my whole purpose. I've been involved in politics since I was 15, very much so in politics. And I tell you what, that 3 months on reality TV was way better than the 13 years I'd spent in politics. So it really is about saying, how is that I can take away the pressure and have a release valve somewhere else. And I think we've got to think about these things in metaphors, because, you know, if you're a plumber, or if you've got to think about how it is that you can create real outlets of pain, pressure, hurt, or anger, and going up into someone's face and saying, you got to change, is never going to do that. And we can see that with climate change protesters right now. They are doing the worst job at altering people's mindsets, because what they are doing is putting more pressure on people, more pain on people. And if you don't agree with that, that doesn't matter. Listen to what people are talking about in the street, because whatever you feel yourself, like if you think that person is doing something that is amazing and admirable, that's fine. But what's the outcome? What is the true outcome going to be? And if the true outcome is going to be that less people agree with you, then the path that you are taking is one that needs to be reevaluated.
It's really perfect what you're saying. I think when I thought about having this interview with you, right, one of the things that I was always thinking about was how do you kind of say to people, the least interesting thing about me is that I'm gay. But how do you also say to people, and it matters, that I get treated the exact same way as every other human being on the planet, except not every human being does get treated exactly the same. How do I sort of articulate it in a way? And I'm like, it's like this grapple. It's like, how do I fully own who I am, but do it in such a way, like you're saying, that I don't end up being the same jerk I complain about.
Yes.
Like, here I am going, how dare you, you should visit. And I went through my own, angry lesbian phase. And I was, just anyone that came near me, I just totally fit the stereotype. And I really got myself that I'm not going to be convincing anyone of anything. And at some point, there is this thing called Team Human.
Yeah.
I say I do not pick teams. There's this thing called Team Human. So I don't care if someone in front of me is angry at me because they don't agree with something about my life.
Yeah.
How do I connect with this human being, like you said, where I can get who they are?
Yeah. And
I can not just get who they are, but actually have them get who I am, the full who I am.
Yeah.
And to me, when you say effective personal leadership, I didn't know how to do that, Dave. Like, I didn't know how I was going to go out and be this human in the world that was going to, make a difference. And I bet you didn't know the impact you were really going to have on Big Brother.
Oh, shit, no.
You had no idea, right? But
no
you
idea.
You just kept taking steps, right?
A simple case of someone has to do something, that someone is me.
Yeah. And that is what I would call having a purpose.
Yeah.
And, you can tell, you just, like, you've got police, you've got this, you've got that, you've got all these people up against you, and you still keep going. Yeah. You don't stop. That's when you know that you have purpose. Yeah. So how do you, what would you say to people? Just like anything else, how do you say to people, if you really are upset about something, make it your problem to go deal with it. If you see it, it's yours to deal with. Yeah. What would you say to people about that?
Never do anything in an emotional state, because because I do a lot of work with dogs, obviously, and have done professionally for a very long time. And we know damn well that if a dog is sniffing, it's not going to come when called. We know that if a dog is hyped up in a manic state and barking at something, it's not going to come when called. So why would we put pressure on ourselves and pressure on the dog to try and get it to come when called, when it is sniffing or it is incessantly barking and trying to get through the fence and try and kill that stupid chihuahua that always walks past and pees on the roses? So it really is a case of, how can I alter this situation differently so that the dog gets what it wants and I get what I want? Or how is it that the person that I'm trying to alter their behaviour it wins and I win? Because everyone has to win in a situation that results in change. And if you're doing it on a personal level, well then, if it's just one person on one person, you both have to win in the outcome. And so again, it's just going through the motions of how is it that the two of us can both win in this situation. So if you are seeing someone who is walking in front of you or is in front of you in a line at Coles or Woolies, and they are very, very agitated, and they continuously are bumping you or whatever, are you both going to win if you go, "Excuse me, can you stop bumping me?" How are you both going to win from that situation? You know that you're not both going to win from that situation. So maybe it could just be a simple case of you stand back, because you don't know what their journey is. You don't know if they're continuously bumping you because you're actually way up in their space, and they may have had a traumatic experience where they were raped in a dark alley. You have no idea their journey that they've been on that has been so extreme that you just think that they keep pushing you with their stuff in the line. You know, just little tiny things as small as that. The decision-making process that you've got to make in your head is, how can we both win from this? You know, and go through the motions of what is the least impactful thing that I can do to get the outcome that I want. That's all it is.
You know, and you're both win, and everyone in the situation has to win. And this is actually a great way of describing what Team Human is. Team Human is kind of like like you're saying, there is no winning and losing. There is no right and wrong. There is no good and bad. Now, I'm not saying there isn't. I'm sure some of us could look at some certain things and say, that's bad, that's good. But what I'm saying is, when you try to impact something in a moment and you're looking from right, wrong, good, bad, you just can't. No one can win if you're creating some polarity in that moment.
Yep, absolutely.
So what I can hear, again, is you're so connected to what people are dealing with in that. So if someone's in front of you being rude, you don't see a rude person. You see someone that's had a whole lifetime of stuff.
That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. And I'm not so arrogant as to think that there is a movie that has been made for me. And often people feel that if someone is rude to them, that movie was just made for them. And that person's behavior is all about them. It's not. That person's behavior is about the journey that they've just been on that entire day and the entire lifetime prior to that. And also the anxiety within their head that is the lifetime to come. Because remember, every person has a real past and an assumed future, which is often why we behave in bizarre ways that doesn't make any sense, because we have anxieties within our head, which is about the future that never occurred or will never occur or may never occur. So it's not just a journey of the past, it's actually a journey of the assumed future for that person. And often, you know, the main reason that we humans behave bizarrely is because of this anxiety we have in our head of the future that hasn't occurred, aka the current environmentalist extremists. It's an anxiety that's in their head. There is nothing of past that is creating their behavior. So when you're dealing with something that exists in someone's head completely, that's when things can get very, very tricky of how is it that I can change their behavior, or how is it that I can, both of us come out of this as winners, because you're not talking about anything that's tangible. And again, anyone who's dealt with religion, it's in their head. Like, religion is well and truly in someone's head. I mean, whether you accept the religion or not the religion, it's in their head. Because, I mean, you talk to anyone who's a Muslim or anyone who's a Christian, of all the different breakaway pieces in the cogs that we call Christianity. It's all in their head. Nothing actually exists that you can tangibly touch to say, no, well, this is the difference between Mormonism and Seventh-day Adventists. So it's all in their head. So that's the complexity of all of this, is that we are dealing with something that is non-existent. Then that's when we really start to challenge how it is that we make a change, because you're dealing with something that doesn't exist.
Yeah. And you know, it's great. I've had this thought as well. I'm like, this is so good talking to you, Dave. I feel like I'm talking to myself.
Well, that's the good thing, right? That's the good thing.
I know. But so you come up with these complex issues, right? And, you know, let's use climate change, because it takes away from the context of LGBTI. Yeah. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what it is you're talking about. But there are some real facts that exist.
Yep.
But no one can even talk about that. No one can really discuss a solution if all you do is arguing your point.
Yep.
So you've got like them arguing that, they're arguing that, them arguing that, and what I'm hearing is you're like, just drop that.
Yeah.
Drop arguing the point. Drop trying to prove you're right. Drop trying to prove they're wrong. That's just gonna, you know, get more of that. Actually start to get to know the human being in front of you.
Yeah.
Start to understand them. Start to connect with them. Start to understand what worries them, what concerns they have. Why are they so worried? Why are they so concerned?
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, something else might be possible if you start to relate to each other that way, like what I call team human. Yeah. Is that, I mean, I just came up with that. I don't know if that's
you're,
saying. I could be putting
no, you're
in your
spot
mouth.
on. You're spot on. I mean, I think the other way to explain it is if someone has just read a really impactful book, they're now here and you're here. And there's this big imaginary gap between the two of yous. And that book may have been, you know, the New Testament, or that book may have been Harry Potter. And if we all can try and remember or even think about, you know, if we have a conversation with someone who's never read Harry Potter, there's, you know, that gap that exists. That's the confusing gap that we've really got to always try and bridge, of how is it that we can get that conversation to occur between two people that are coming from totally different places. I mean, you don't even know what a Hogwarts is, and then you don't even know what a muggle is. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, so it's about trying to bridge that gap.
I don't watch Harry Potter, but I get it.
Yeah.
I've never watched it.
Oh, you're that person. Yeah.
I know.
I drive a lot, so I listen to the podcast, the speaking books. So yeah, very much so. It's always about trying to go, how is it that we can get across to people?
Yeah, and
always bridging gaps.
I love talking about particular moments that I've had with people, right? And I had this. I'm going to take it back to being LGBTIQ, but I had this moment where I had this cleaner, and this cleaner came out, and you know I had kids, and so I decided I needed a cleaner. And she came out, and she was very religious, and I didn't know that, and she came into my house and said, "I don't believe in gay people." And I remember I used to get all, you know, chip on my shoulder. I know, right? And I went, well, here I am. You know, I started to have fun with it and play with it. And I started to, rather than get annoyed, I started to firstly see the humour in it. There was a real humour in someone saying to me that I didn't exist when I was standing in front of them. And like you just did, like you know. So I started to play with that, but also maintain, because there is this little moment of a reaction to that, because it kind of does hit something when you hear people say that stuff. Like it hits a nerve, but rather than honour the nerve and, you know, feel like I want to, like, you know, fight, what I started to do is I started to play and have this context of being playful with people, and then work out how to connect. Yeah. So I ended up saying to this woman, you know, you don't believe in whatever, you know, well, here I am. And then rather than get upset, I said, how come? How come you don't? Yeah. Well, I'm religious. And I went, okay, well, did you just jump into this religion and as a part of the membership, it comes with no gays don't exist on the membership card? I don't know, you know, play with it. Had this conversation with her, and by the end of the session, we started getting along as friends. And she came a few more times, and literally within about 10 times she'd cleaned the house, we were like really close. And the differences between us didn't matter anymore. Yeah. And she left, this was right before the marriage vote, and she left and said to me, do you know, I still don't want to vote no. I still want to vote no to the marriage vote. But I tell you what, after meeting you, I feel like I want to vote yes, even though I don't believe in it. And, you know, we remained friends, and that was it. But what I noticed about that is there wasn't this concept called LGBTI anymore. I was a human being that was in front of her. Yeah. And I didn't even try. I wasn't trying to convince her of anything. Yeah. I was just being myself, loving her, allowing her to be herself, and something else, I don't know, something else happened between us that had her not even want to believe what she believed anymore. Yep. Now there's something, I don't know what that is, but that's what, you know, what would you, I don't know, what would you say to something like that? That's like, how do you have people be able to access that and be that way with people, no matter what?
Well, I think you've done it the exact way. She believed that that gay people are X, So
Yeah.
don't argue with that, because that's a belief. A belief is something that doesn't exist. It exists only in that human's head. So you
Yeah,
can't
exactly.
argue with something that doesn't exist. I mean, that is ludicrous, and that just says that you're slightly insane, that you think you can argue with something that doesn't exist. You can't argue against.
Are you trying to tell me beliefs aren't real? Are you trying to tell me that blue cheese is the best cheese in the world is not true?
Well, it's real for you, and that's the thing that we always need to
That's right.
understand, is that a belief is so real and so tangible for that person. If you've ever spoken to a person that believes that the flat Earth thing, it is real to them. Just don't ever allow them to get into an aeroplane, or don't ever allow them to look at shadows at distance, because it will just totally crumble their own reality. So yeah, I think
That freaks me out.
Yeah.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing that you've got to do instantly is never try to combat the belief, because you won't. You can't, because it doesn't exist. You can't fight something that's not real, but is real in their own head. So it's very much so a case of doing what you did, which is you showed her. You took her on a journey. Rather than saying, I don't exist, kapow, you said, hey, there's a whole new world. Come with me on a magic carpet ride. And you show them that that you are real, and those things that are very important, compassion, kindness, love, and giving, which is so important to these people that call themselves Christians. You're showing that you actually are doing that, and therefore they then change their whole idea. They're like, oh my God, you the same as me, what?
Yes.
And so it's very much so, you've got to show people, and never have this and always have this, and never force anyone to do anything, because that will just instantly strengthen their belief. I mean, if the belief is that Western people are an abomination to God, and you go, what do you mean, an abomination to God? Woo! Instantly, you've just reinforced that belief to that person that thinks that we are all about flesh and all about going to the satanic side of our humanly wants, needs, and desires. So, something that you can do is, no, you're absolutely understandable, and then get onto their own wavelength, and then take them on a journey down that garden path.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It does. It does. It's hard to articulate, right? Because this is language. We're trying to put something into language, which is really hard to put into language.
Yeah.
Which is in those moments that you get pissed off that someone has said something to you that really is like not aligned with who you are.
Yeah.
You have this choice, or these moments where you want to get annoyed. Your opportunity is actually, rather than that, is not doing that.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like, in a way, it's kind of against everything we've ever been taught. I know. Yeah. It's like, yes, what I'm saying is, when someone says something that's not true and that completely grates on you, we want you to love them.
Yeah.
We want you to get curious about them. We want you to try to delve into them. And even if they're treating you badly, just put that aside in the moment.
Yeah.
And actually just, allow them to be that way and talk to them. Like that's kind of against human nature.
Of course it is, because human nature is to survive in the moment. But the incredible thing that we as a species have is reason and logic and understanding of the future and the past and the present simultaneously. So what we can do is...
Where are you learning all this stuff, Dave? It's so fascinating.
Dog behaviour, animal behaviour management.
Dog behaviour.
Well, it's all about how it is that we can as a professional behaviourist, how is that I can mould the dog into the dog that we want, as opposed to the dog that is aggressive, violent, and or naughty. So it's very much so about how it is that we can alter all of that, and understanding what are the evolutionary reasons for each of those individual behaviors. Fight flight situation is simply adrenaline rushing through our veins to allow us to survive any given situation. And you think, remember, any given situation is a survival thing. It's falling off a cliff. It's going all the way back to when we were, you know, a creature in the trees. Why we get motion sicknesses, of course, is if you're up in the top branch, you're going to fall off and die. So the best thing to have is motion sickness. You don't go to the top of the branch, you don't fall off and die. Yes, of course, when you get to the top of the branch, you'll get the best berries, but the best berries are no good when you're dead on the ground and you can't pass on your genetics. So, of course, the only one that really passes on the genetics is the little monkey creature that doesn't go all the way, and therefore he's suffering motion sickness on the tree, and therefore he gets to live another day, and he gets to listen to Barry White, have wine and cheese, and procreate and make more babies. Therefore, we all exist. So it's very much so understanding the exact reason why we have these feelings, that we have a fight-flight situation in front of us because we are getting a ancient, no longer appropriate amount of adrenaline through our system that is causing us to do a certain behavior. It's the same as with love and that intense attraction we have to someone. It's going, no, this is not love. No, this is not, I really want to be with this person forever. This is my body saying, I have a severe attraction to that and I want to breed with that, or I want to make babies with that. And of course, as gay people, we can actually understand and get out of that because we're not going to make babies the moment we have sex with someone. So we can actually see it for what it really is, chemicals in our brain forcing us to express a certain behavior. And so that's the great thing about being a human, is that we can see beyond what is just the chemicals asking for a certain expression of behavior.
Yeah. And I think it's using language is sometimes some of the, I know in moments, I do this with my housemate, you know, she was just annoying me the other day, and I said, I'm getting triggered by you. So there is a way of using language to call it out so that you don't hide it, resist it, try not to, like, oh, that person's pissed me off. Now I'm going to pretend I'm not pissed off and look normal. Now look normal, but inside I'm really, really pissed off. There is you can call it out. Like you can say, I'm really triggered by now, but I want to get to know I want to understand what you're saying. Yeah. And I suppose that's, you know, part of why I do these lives and also the event is because I want to give people access to fully owning themselves. Yeah. And at the same time, standing for what matters to them. Yeah. Being authentic. Yeah. Calling things out. Yeah. But doing it in such a way that you don't have to devalue someone else in order to get your point across. Yes. You can absolutely communicate. You can absolutely say everything that's authentic to who you are. But like you said, do it in a way where everyone is the winner. Yeah, exactly. And again, the workplace is where we spend most of our time. So why don't we have the skills that have been learned by others so we can actually get through our where we are most of the time and where the politics are the most extreme for us, because we can't rely on a lot of the other things that we obviously have learnt within the family dynamic or in the education dynamic. Suddenly we're in this workplace dynamic. We need the damn skills to be able to get through. And sometimes, even though we live in 2019, those skills are lacking. And of course, when it comes around LGBTIQ issues, where the hell do these skills come from? Because often the only way that we know how to deal with things is what we've learnt, which is the Mardi Gras reaction, the bitch, I'm here, you know, that sort of attitude. Yeah, you know, that's right. That ain't going to work in a workplace, because people in a workplace, everyone just wants to get the fuck along. Everyone wants to just be able to do their damn job and pay their mortgage and go on that holiday where they want to. But sometimes also just enjoy the fact that they're at a place for 8, 9, 10 hours a day in harmony. So, I think the fact that you're giving people access to the skills where people have learnt them is gold, because so many LGBTIQ people often have had to create masks, and then when you become an adult, you get to rip off the mask. Now you need a new set of skills to deal with society, because previously you were playing a different actor.
Now you're playing yourself. Holy shit, how do I play myself? And sometimes listen to
Professionally.
others. Yeah, and exactly.
Authentically,
Yes.
appropriately.
Yes. So it's a
Yes.
case of being able to share these ideas, and that is what you're doing, which is phenomenal because it's not done.
Yes. And yeah, it's like I said, I don't have the answers to it either. I'm starting to work it out, explore it. How
Hey,
can we
guess
do
what?
this?
No one
What?
has the answers. No one has a fucking clue what they're doing. And when we
Thank
know
God.
that, when we
Yeah.
realize that no one has a fucking clue, we are all just doing this and seeing how it happens. We're like the Roomba in the room. We're just bumping into things until we can get a clear path to suck up as much resources as we possibly can.
Yes.
Once you realize that, you then are so kind to others because you know that they're not doing anything deliberately. They're just bumping through life the same as we're all just bumping through life.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, totally.
we hope to goodness that we can bump through life and accumulate friends or family members or partners that can bump through life at the same vibe, the same level, and the same degree of craziness. So it's learning those skills, but it's accepting that no one has it worked out. That way, you'll avoid cults because if you think that someone has it worked out, oh my God, you're a member of a cult. No one has a fucking clue. No one has a fucking clue. And that's the first thing that anyone should ever say to you. If anyone ever says to you, I know the answers, they have a God complex and you need to run the fuck away from them. So what we're trying to do, I think, in this whole thing is say to people, we
Yes.
don't know what's going on, but this has worked for me
Yeah.
and it may work for you.
Absolutely.
And you've got a panel together, which is, you know, here's a fucking homosexual farmer's journey that, you know, oh, by the way, he's in Iowa in a cornfield representing Australia in a dog sport. That's a pretty bizarre human. But you may have some other
It's
people on the
awesome.
panel that are a little bit closer to home and that can give you the skills of navigation that they've had. It's no different to when a big ship goes into a port, be it Moreton Bay or be it into Sydney Harbour. They don't cruise in themselves. They get the local knowledge, and a bloke jumps on the ship and says, "Oh no, no, no! You better turn left just here because that's a fucking pile of rocks." And of course, you know, the
Jeez, I love
documents
talking to you, Dave.
and the pathways of the lighthouses. But at the end of the day, having someone hold your hand and help navigate things are really important. And I can't stress enough that Jess, you've done an amazing thing just by bringing these conversations together because people need help at workplace. People need help navigating things. But the people that are attending need to know we do not have the answers. And no,
They
you
know.
don't have to start giving us your bank account details and moving into our ranch and, of course, fearing Armageddon. It's not going to happen.
It's not, is it? And no, it's great. And just because I really, you know, what you were just talking about, where you know these guys on the panel are this. You're not just this old big brother guy that you're a dog trainer, so you actually are, like you said, dog behaviour and human behaviour is you specialise in. Not only that, you're doing a whole lot of work with the New South Wales Police in youth work. So why don't you share a little bit about that? So you're not just that big brother guy.
No, so we have this amazing thing called Rough Track where we take young lads, and it is young lads, let's face it, testosterone is the greatest evil that has ever plagued the human race, and any race, in fact. You would know this if ever a dog has humped your leg. So testosterone is a bad thing.
Yes.
But it happens, and it happens, our body produces itself. And so what we try and do with this program is allow humans to navigate the introduction of testosterone into their system. That's basically what it is. So what does it look like? It looks like young people, young men who are 13, 14, 15, 16, who are telling the world to fuck off, their teachers, the police, the rights of others, and they're angry, they're unsure of themselves, and they have no ability to see the world for what it is, because testosterone is just fucking up their ability to think correctly. And so what we do is we join them up with a dog, a pup, a little puppy, to allow them some kindness, compassion, and know that you can't hurt the puppy, you know, like you've got to love the puppy, and it allows them to love them in themselves. Remember that child that they were, that was loved by everyone, that little sweet Richard. Now they've turned into a fucking dick. And so, where's Richard?
Your swearing has gotten so bad towards the end of this.
Yeah, I know. Oh, calm down.
Right.
But it's just,
you're expressing yourself. I do
exactly.
Get that. If anyone is offended, that's fine. You just hashtag offended.
Hashtag I was offended. Yeah. You felt the pain, and I didn't inflict the pain on you. I just expressed myself. So yeah, now that they've become a dick from that cute Richard, we also give them a teenage puppy, and that's an 8-month-old dog. So when that dog is annoying, they see themselves in that dog, and then they learn, how is it that I can craft this dog to be my best mate, to be able to do something. Herd sheep. It's an amazing concept, herding sheep. A dog works in unison with a human, works on opposite side of the herbivore, and brings those herbivores under control. Like, that is a mastery of evolution that we can't even comprehend. But that's what we do in this 13, 14, 15-year-old's head. Or we get the dog together in front of, 25,000 people, get the dog to jump as high up a wall as possible, or as far down a pool as possible. So we're doing all these very complex brain-changing ideas in a very simple way. A boy and a couple of dogs. And we are changing their lives. Yeah, changing their lives. Yes. It is just an extraordinary thing whereby these young people went from having violent interludes in their lives, bashing their mothers, assaulting their teachers, being locked up in the fishbowl, stealing continuously, causing mayhem and havoc in their communities. They have gone from that in this very short period of 10 weeks to kids that are impressing people every single day. And what changed? What changed? They got a little bit of guidance, and someone who has had a bit of experience in life and who has dealt with a lot of the stuff that they're dealing with. It's called testosterone, kids. It's nothing dramatic. It's just testosterone. And come out the other side. We're just giving a little bit of guidance and advice. That's all we're doing. And we're doing it with compassion and kindness. So when a boy says, I'm just so fucking angry, this is a case of, you're angry? What's making you feel anger? And sometimes it could be, I don't fucking know. I'm like, maybe it's the space you're in. Maybe it's standing here. Oh, maybe it's the prickle that's in you. Did you want to take the prickle out? It's giving them options. It's giving them a way out. Because testosterone bombards your system to a point that you feel like you have no way out. You just have to fight or flight. But there's a lot more you can do. You can freeze if you want to. You can just stay still. You can fiddle if you want to, and that'll dissipate. Or you can have an alternate behavior. And what we do with this program is we teach boys there is an alternate behavior. You don't have to punch your girlfriend because your girlfriend said she didn't want to do something. You don't have to run away from your life or your job or your school because you felt weird. So you don't have to fight and flight. You don't have to fiddle, which means that you don't have to put spray cans all over the place. You don't have to freeze, which means you just do absolutely nothing with your life. What you can do is an alternate behavior and harness that incredible craziness inside you and do something else where everybody wins, including you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, I'm concerned my phone's about to run out of batteries.
Yeah. So, we've been yapping for ages. Is there anyone even left watching? Is there anyone out there?
There is.
Hashtag watch it later, kids. Oh,
yes,
awesome.
No.
Awesome.
Yeah, we've had a few people that have been on the whole time too. So and what's it called? What's this called?
Rough Track. So RU. The boys came up with the names, the boys came up with the colours, the boys came up with the entire program, the boys come up with everything that they do. But the crazy thing about it is they get the guidance. So to do absolutely everything. So it's no different to dog training. Here are some options, but you've given them the option, so you know what the outcome's going to be. So it's their idea. but you've given them the idea, if you get what I mean. So anyway, so it's called Rough
Yeah,
Track,
yeah.
RUFFTRACK. It's on Facebook. Shelley Argent is currently running a GoFundMe. It is completely volunteer run. Like I do whatever work I can do to pay for the boys we feed them. We get Hawkesbury Helping Hands. They're another group that gives them their food, because sometimes these kids just don't have food. I mean, a lot of these boys haven't been to school since they're 10 years of age. Can you imagine a human in today's society that at 10 years of age is not getting educated? This isn't happening in Zimbabwe. This isn't happening in Venezuela. This is happening in the suburbs of Western Sydney. So it's
and
really
probably all around Australia. So
absolutely, it is absolutely everywhere. And what we're doing is just a different approach. We're not saying go and get in the lockup because you've been bad. We're not saying, oh, come to Gumnut Cottage and let's hang out.